Okay, so this is going to be an early part of the review, done earlier in the season, because I don't think this plant is going to make it, this particular tomato variety. It's been absolutely getting devastated by rain, and on top of it, it's a determinate variety, so once it puts out its fruit, it pretty much starts dying off at that point. That's one of the reasons why I don't grow determinate tomatoes. I mean, there could be other issues with it as far as like disease in the soil and stuff, so it really shouldn't be looking like this. I mean, the tomatoes are starting to, I've never really seen that before. So that's leading me to believe that there's a good chance that the tomato plant reached its maturity, it's determinate, and it's just going to eventually start dying off, and that's where we're at now. But I did want to get this part of the review in early, because if it doesn't make it by the time these fruits actually ripen, at least I have, you know, the earlier part of the review, and I can show you the plant with the tomatoes on it. And it is starting to get some blight. It looks like it's getting some, what do you call that, black spot, septoria. Looks like it's got in there. It's got some blight. Leaves are falling off it, as you can see. I'm picking them off. It's pretty much done. It's whatever tomatoes on here are going to ripen, and that's it. So that's one of the reasons why I don't grow determinate varieties of tomatoes. But anyway, this is a determinate variety of tomato, and the name of the tomato is called a Silvery fir. And you can see that the leaf pattern on this plant is very interesting looking. It's like a fern leaf type of plant, which is very different from, like, you know, tomato leaf that looks like that. These are very small pinnate type leaves, very fern-like in look, and it is a determinate, like I've mentioned before. So once it sets fruit, it starts to die off, and I think that's where we're at now. And even a lot of the flowers are falling off it, and that's a lot of that is because of the rain. And then before that was a solid 2 months of 90+ degree heat, and because of that reason, the plant didn't make it. So I wanted to show you these tomatoes now before the plant dies, because I think that's where we're headed with it now. I think the one plant is going to die first, and then the one in the back is going to die next. So, yeah, see, the leaves are kind of just, I'm not even pulling on them, they're just popping off. Parts of the stem is, you know, the suckers, they're not even surviving. You know, it could have a root-borne disease, so that could be contributing to it and stuff like that. Plant stress from all the rain, and see, the tomatoes are falling off it. That's, tomato plant's gone. But I will, nevertheless, I will be able to get some of these tomatoes off of here. I mean, you can see there's a pretty good amount of tomatoes on this plant. There's quite a few on there. None of them got blossom end rot, even with all the rain we got. So that's a good feature to this plant. It's kind of resistant to blossom end rot, but it's not resistant to tomato wilt, black spot, septoria, Fusarium, verticillium, anthracnose. Any of those diseases, it's not resistant to. In fact, on here, it looks like there's a little bit of black mold forming on the dead leaf, on the dead flower. So, like I say, this is what the leaf looks like. It's a very beautiful looking leaf. It's a very beautiful plant. I do believe you can encourage this plant to kind of grow out a lot longer than it would if it didn't have all those stressing conditions. If it had normal, regular conditions, this plant would last you the whole season and you'd get a lot more fruit off it. But because it's a determinate variety, too much stress can actually cause the plant to go into a dying stage. Now, most of my determinate tomatoes do that. Now, I am growing a few others, and they're kind of showing the same symptoms. So that's what the tomato looks like. I can't even show you the flowers. Yeah, maybe I could. Is that coming from this? No, that's the flowers. It stopped flowering, and any flowers that are left on it are pretty much dying off. They're not going to make it. They're just simply not going to make it. So I tried anyway with this variety. I didn't have success the first couple years. In fact, this is the best I've ever gotten this tomato plant to actually grow. With as much work as I put into it, I've gotten about this out of it. It always has a problem. It's very temperamental to environmental conditions. Too much rain, too much heat, too much sun, too much humidity. It needs it absolutely perfect to the way it likes it, or else it's not going to grow right. I don't know. That's my experience with it. Yeah, I'll try to show you some of the tomatoes. No blossom end rot. That is a plus for it. So a lot of my other tomatoes are splitting and cracking, and they're getting blossom end rot. One plant had about 30 tomatoes on it. Every single tomato got blossom end rot. I just basically picked them all off you throw them out because they're just sucking energy from the plant. But this tomato plant did not show any signs of blossom end rot, and we got almost 10 inches of rain now since the dry spell early spring. All right, so that's your silvery fir. Okay, so we're going to do a tomato review on the silvery fir. Now, I shot a video earlier, which I shown you earlier in the video. That was done earlier in the year before we got to this point, because I seen problems already with this tomato and with this particular variety, and I figured let me get some footage of it while it still looked good. And well, here we're at the end of the season already of this tomato, and here we are. So this is the silvery fir tomato, and obviously you see it didn't really make it. It's a beautiful tomato plant to grow. Problem is that once we got those deluge of rain, that massive flooding of rain, this plant pretty much died from that. I don't know if that's normal for this tomato variety, or if that's just because of the rain, or it's a determinate tomato, so because of that reason this plant puts out all its fruit and then it just dies. So this is kind of expected to happen sooner or later. I just thought I'd get a little bit more in tomatoes off of this plant than it just dropping dead just like that. I mean, it was perfectly beautiful not that long ago, and now it's just literally dropped dead. Now, could it have a plant disease? It's possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the tomatoes off of here, and I'm going to strip off most of the dying plant matter and see if it puts out any new shoots, and maybe it'll come back and give me another small little harvest by the end of the year. Right now it's August 1st, so we'll see if maybe, you know, there's one or two shoots that are alive still. Maybe they'll kick back into gear, and I don't know. As of right now, though, this is the reason why I don't, you know, grow determinate tomatoes, because they only go so far and boom, they just drop dead on you. I mean, this thing just literally dropped dead. And I find it a little hard to believe that it's any one particular disease. I mean, it barely got any blight. If it did have tomato wilt, it's not exhibiting it inside the stem, because I had cut several stems off to check it, and I'm not seeing any signs of, you know, tomato wilt, you know, either fusarium or verticillium or any of those things. Not seeing any signs of it. It just dropped dead. The rain either drowned it to death, or that heavy heat that we had recently really killed the plant, overstressed it, and it just literally dropped dead. So, but nevertheless, we'll still be able to do a tomato review on it. There's some tomatoes here. One or two of them did get blossom end rot. Just way too much water came down. We got almost, I think in the end total for July, in a 3-week period of time, we've got something like 12 and a half or 13 inches of rain. Anyway, here's a look at the leaf. Here's a look at some of the tomatoes. You can see they're really starting to, some of them look like they're starting to even rot on the top up here. And that could be a bug bite on it. I don't know. It's just dropping dead. And I'm going to leave the few green ones that are on there on that one branch. I'll leave those on there. Maybe that part will live. But nevertheless, we'll be able to take a few of these off and bring them over to the table. And we're going to taste test them and do a bricks test on it and just see how they came out. All right, so I'll see you back at the table. Oh, let me just show you what they look like on a vine. You know, this is basically what you're going to see. You know, you're going to see like 2, 3, 4 of these medium-sized tomatoes. They really don't get too much bigger than this so far. I mean, they do get like, you know, this size and maybe a little bigger like that, but not that much bigger than that. I've grown this tomato now for 3 years. Haven't really had success with it in that 3-year period of time. Kind of get what you see here. Really, this one probably did better than the first 2 years. So it doesn't really get too much better than what you see here, for me anyway. You know, you could get it, if it grew at its healthiest rate, it might do a little better and, you know, just give you. But I noticed a lot of tomato flowers were dropping too, and that's simply because of the heat. The heat was just absolutely punishing this year, and so I can't really blame the plant for that. But I just wanted to show you what they look like on the vine. And we'll pick these and we'll bring them over to the table and we'll give them a taste test. Okay, so this is the review part of the silvery fir tomato, and we're going to do a taste test on a couple of these tomatoes. And I let them ripen for about a week or so. So from the time you've seen the first part of the video till now has roughly been about a week. So let me show you what the inside looks like. Okay, that's what it looks like on the inside. And here's a good example of the tomato. It's about an average size for these. And they can get, you know, maybe a little bigger than that. I think I got a couple in here maybe slightly bigger. And it's not that heavy of a producer, but you can see what it produced over here. Now, the advantage of growing determinate tomatoes in general is that it'll give you all your tomatoes all at once, and then the tomato plant dies, and then you can start your next tomato planting right away. So it should give you tomatoes, if you start your plants early enough, you should have tomatoes by June or first week of July, something like that. And that'll give you plenty of time to start your plant starts in the end of June, and that way you get another good harvest. So let me pick one of these that look like they're good and ripe and hopefully better taste. Now this looks like a good one. Let's cut this one in half. Nice and soft. Right there. Let's give that a go. Right out the gate, I'm going to tell you the skins were really tough. That just could be growing conditions, could be environmental conditions, but the skin was really, really, really tough on it. So I mean, the inside is really creamy. The thing about this tomato is that it's a very soft and creamy type of effect. So you can make sauce out of this. Pretty much just cut it down the middle, squeeze the inside out, and you're done. Yeah, there's your sauce. I mean, it's basically as easy as that, but the skins were really, really tough. Now, as far as sweetness, it was a little tangier than I'd actually like it to be. I have one more bite to take. It's a little bit more tangy than I'd like it to be. I'd say tangy-wise, it was probably 40% on the tangy. Tomato sweetness-wise was really low, maybe 20%. So the contrast is definitely off. We'll open up another tomato and see if it did the same thing. The tomato flavor itself, I don't know, it wasn't very noticeable tomato flavor. It's just mostly tangy flavor with a bit of tartness and barely any sweetness, and very watery and soft meat, and that was basically it. Let's check the bricks on this. Yeah, the bricks is really low. Bricks is just below 4 on this particular tomato. So I can tell you right now, the sweetness on it was low. So with a bricks of 4, that's... Now, is every tomato going to be the same thing? I don't know. I could open up another one. It tastes like it'd make a good ketchup, to be honest with you. Ketchup has vinegar in it. You don't need to add vinegar to this to make a ketchup with this tomato. So I'm not going to eat this one because it looks like, I don't know, we could take a small piece off it, I guess. Yep, same thing, very tangy, very low sugar content. I'll open up another one. Maybe we'll open up this one here. That was a little starting to rot. Now these been sitting out for like a week, so some of them they all ripened up pretty quickly too. This one looks like it should be a little better tasting. I mean, they all look great on the inside. Yeah, basically the same thing. There's no sweetness. Wow, that tomato I just tested is like 3.1. It's really low, guys. There's almost virtually no sweet flavor in this thing at all. I don't know. Could it be the growing conditions? Could it be the intense sunlight? I don't know. But I'm not looking to actually even really eat too many of these tomatoes. I'm probably going to, compared to all the other tomatoes I'm growing, I don't even want to. I mean, there's just virtually no sweetness in it. It's all tang is what it is. It's just, I don't know. Doesn't taste that good to me, be honest with you. I don't know. Take it for what it's worth, you know. I mean, I'm willing to cut one more open here. You know, we tested 1, 2, 3. This is the third tomato. If we don't get it out of the third tomato, it's, you know, it's going to rank really low in my tomato book. Now this is coming off of 3 different plants. So every single one of these is giving it. Yeah, it was all grown in the same pot, but it is coming off of 3 different plants. Put a little salt on it and see if that makes a difference. No, not really. They actually made it worse. Tasted like a very rich cold pizza sauce or something with salt on it. I don't know. This one's not. This one's definitely not getting my approval on. I don't even not know if I want to grow this one again. I might grow it again next year to see if I can improve the quality, the flavor. I'm going to adjust some of the pH on it. I'm going to try growing this. Right now my pH is roughly around 6.4, something like that in my soils. So we're going to try growing this in 7, maybe 7.5. Maybe that extra lime in there will really bring the sweetness of the tomato up. I don't know. But it ain't tasting that great for me. The way it is right now, I don't even want to grow this thing again. So I'll show you a last look of, you know, a decently looking tomato. I mean, this really isn't a bad looking tomato. I mean, this is pretty nice. A nice little slice of tomato. But the taste is really, you know, I don't know. It ain't working too well for me, you know. Here's another one. This is like a typical shape size. You'll see with these kind of flattened a little bit. If you leave them, if your plant is doing really good and you leave them on there until they're fully ripened, you'll end up with tomatoes that generally look like this, and you'll end up with a good amount of them too. Like I said, they didn't like the heat, and it just the whole tomato plant just right after that heat wave, it started turning yellow, so it just didn't like it at all. So anyway, that was your tomato review for the Silvery fir. We'll give it a go next year. We'll see if it's going to do it again or not. Maybe I'll try growing it indoors under lights. I don't know. All right, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.